All right, guys, so you said this is 3B? Okay, come on, my little tablet friend. No gremlins today. What is happening? There we go. Okay. So matrix multiplication is very complicated. I am not going to teach you how to do matrix multiplication by hand, and you don't have to actually do one at all on the quiz or on the final. What you do have to do is know whether you could multiply something. So let me show you some slides on this, and then we'll come back to this one and put some notes down, okay? In order to be able to multiply a matrix A by a matrix B, the number of columns in A must equal the number of rows in B. If A has dimensions m by r and B has dimensions r by n, then their product, AB, will be an m by n matrix. If the number of rows in column A does not equal the number of rows in, sorry, I read that wrong. If the number of columns in matrix A does not equal the number of rows in columns B, the matrices cannot be multiplied. That was very clear, right? You understood all of that. All right. So what you have to do is write, if you're trying to multiply A by B, you write down rows by columns, and then for matrix B, you write down rows by columns, okay? These two numbers in the middle here must match. If they don't, it's not possible to multiply them. The size of the answer you will get, the resultant matrix, will be these outside ones, okay? Now, this was a 1, 2, 3, 4 rows. Everybody see that? By 2 columns. This one was 2 rows by 3 columns. So these are the same, so they can be multiplied. And the size of the resulting matrix, if you multiplied A times B, would be a 4 by 3. Okay? Now, I'm going to show you how that actually works, but don't get excited. I am not going to ask you to do it, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, that's big. Maybe I shouldn't use this as an example. Okay, it would be a 4 by 3. That's very big. What you do is you take each row by each column, and you multiply 7 times 7 is 49. And then you multiply 3 times 8 is 24, and then you add them together. Doesn't that sound fun? 49 and 24, 73 maybe? I don't know. Okay, and then you would do this row by the second column. 7 times 4 plus 3 times 1. 28 plus 3 is 31 maybe. And then you would do this row by this column. So 7 times 9 plus 3 times 5. Oh my gosh, could I have picked a harder one? 63 and 15, 68, 78, I don't know. Okay, I'm not going to continue here because then you have to go back and do this row by this column. So 2 times 7 plus 8 times 5 would be 40 and 14, 54 maybe. And then you keep going. Isn't this fun? Or you can type them in your calculator As long as they're all numbers, we could put this in as a 4 by 2, remember how we enter those? And we could put this in as a 2 by 3 and then tell it to multiply them in the home screen. And we can do one of those. I don't know that we need to do one that big though, okay? But I also want to talk about, real quickly, the fact that usually it doesn't matter what order we multiply things in. Is that true? 2 times 3 and 3 times 2 are the same thing, right? But if I wanted to do matrix B over here times matrix A, I would have looked at B and said this is 2 rows by 3 columns. And this one is 1, 2, 3, 4 rows by 2 columns. Can I do that? Do you remember what we just went through? These middle ones have to be the same. So are these the same? No. So B times A is not possible, or they would, I think, have you write undefined. So multiplication of matrices is not commutative. Do you remember that word ever from algebra? It meant you could do it in any order. Commutative property. Okay, so it's not commutative. All right. So I just wanted to give you a little, like, can you do V times D? What size is V, guys? Going across 2 rows all in 1 column. Everybody good? And what size is D? 2 by 3. Can you multiply those in that order? No. Can anybody find something you could multiply by? We'll say D. Well, what about like G? G is a 3 by 3, right? So these match. So you could do D times G, and the resultant would be a 2 by 3. Okay? Rather than pick out a bunch of those, I'm going to show you this one example. This is a word problem that says a furniture restorer refinishes chairs, tables, and dressers. Okay? So chairs, tables, and dressers, they did this way as the rows. 3 rows by the amount of time required to complete each step of the finishing and refinishing. They have to remove the finish, sand them down, and finish them. So that's, I'm going to write remove, sand, finish. That was so it's a 3 by 3, right? And you can multiply that by a little matrix over here that represents the cost. They have to pay somebody $7 an hour to remove the finish, $18 an hour to sand, and $10 an hour to finish. So this one has remove, sand, finish times, or by the cost. So if we multiply those together, can you tell what would happen? These are matching, so it's okay. The resulting matrix would show us, it would be a 3 by 1. It would show us chair, table, dresser, and the cost, okay? Because it was chair, table, dresser by this, and then that same 3 things here by cost per hour. So this would be the cost to do 1 chair, the cost to do 1 table, and the cost to do 1 dresser. So it's kind of interesting. You are not going to have to do this again. This is what I did earlier where I showed you, you do 1 times 1 plus 2 times 2, and then you do 1 times 2 and 2 times 4, but you are not going to have to do that. This is another example. This was a 2 by 2 times a 2 by 3. So yes, you can do them, and you get a 2 by 3. Why don't we do that one in our calculator real fast? So what size are we going to put in for matrix A? Okay, I know you don't have this, so do I need to make it bigger or can you see it? A is a 2 by 2. So we're going to go from the home screen, we're going to go second, and then the matrix button, over to edit, enter, and I'm going to say this is a 2, enter 2, 2 by 2. And that will then give us just enough room to put in a 2 by 2. And it's 4, -2, -1, 3. 4, -2, -1. Sorry, I got to cover it up to type that. And 3. Okay, 4, -2, -1, and 3. Now I'm going to quit and go back into matrix. And I'm going to go over to edit, but I'm going to go down to matrix B and hit enter. And I want this one to be what size? So 2, enter 3. How we doing? Anybody stuck? Matrix B, a 2 by 3, and you're editing that and putting it in. Okay, it's -1, and then 2, and then 3. Sorry. Really? Can you just... -1, 2, 3, and then -2, 4, and -1. Okay, I think I have it in right. Then what you do is you just go to your home screen and you go back to matrix and you say, I want the name of matrix A, so just type 1 or hit enter and use your multiplication symbol, and then back to the names of the matrices and go down to number 2 where you have matrix B, and it should give you, let's see, we said the answer should be a 2 by 3. I got 0, 0, 14, -5, 10, -6. Yes? Okay. Again, it was row times column, but I'm never going to ask you to do one by hand this year. We don't have time, so we'll leave it. I can show you one more time here. This is how they do it. If it was a 2 by 3 times a 3 by 2, it will work and you will get a 2 by 2. So they did 1 times 7 plus 2 times 9 plus 3 times 11. And that's where they got this 58. And then you would do 1 times 8 plus 2 times 10 plus 3 times 12 to get this number. 1 times 8 plus 2 times 10 plus 3 times 12 would give us that number, okay? And then we'd go down and do this guy times this to get this number, and so on. Miserable. All right. You have the, okay, so what should we put on this notes page here? We should probably say, row by column for matrix A and matrix B, row by columns. For example, like a 2 by 3 times a 3 by 4. These must be equal, or it's undefined. And your answer will be this size. Is that enough of an example, guys? Enough of an explanation? You don't really want me to write an example there of how it actually works, right? Just say no. You'd rather be reviewing for the final, yes? All right, so on Friday, you do have one question on can you multiply these, and if you can, what size will it be? And I think it might even be on the final. I can't remember, but let's go to the ones you have, and then we'll be done with this whole thing here. You have this number 2. What size is this first matrix? 3 by 2. And the second one is a 2 by 2 square. So these are okay here. So the resulting size, so it's yes. And it will be a 3 by 2. Yes. No, I don't care at all. Yep, I can do this one that way. So this one is 2 rows across by 3 columns this way, so 2 by 3. And we're trying to multiply it by a 3 by 2. So these are equal, so this is yes. And the size of the answer would be A times B, I guess it isn't even labeled, but would be a 2 by 2. And there I wrote out the word by again, but the X is fine. Sorry. Any questions? All right, can you, whoa, what happened? There we go. All right, this is a 2 by 3 times a 2 by 3. Is that going to work? These are not the same. So this is undefined. Is that what it said to say in the directions? Okay. This is a 2 by what? Here, someone else tell me what to write here. 2 by 2 and 2 by 3. So yes or no? And answer will be 2 by 3. Is there 2 more? Is there? Oh. Did Hoffbauer skip? Oh, you're right. Thank you. They are down there. I'm like, I don't see them. This is 1 by 2, right? And then a 2 by 2. So that is a yes and a 1 by 2. These were equal. And this guy is a 3 by 2 times a 4 by 1, which is a big fat no. Undefined. Now everybody good? That's all it is. That's all it is on the quiz. All right. We are going to flip over and work on, and I don't even have it open, it looks like, the review for final. Let me see. File, save as. This one is done. Version. Okay. Do you want me to just start at the top and start going through these? Okay. You know, I really hesitate. Some of you might want to write these on paper. If you're worried about how the final's going to go, you could make your own little answer key by doing these on paper and then go back and do it. I don't have enough copies to give everybody another copy of this. But do you understand what I'm saying? That if you want to be able to practice this yourself later, you could either do it on paper now or make sure you do it where you could cover it up and try it again. Does that make sense? Okay. This says we have a linear function or a line, and remember it means f of x equals y. So when we put in an 8, we get out a 10. And when we put in a 4, we get out a 9. We learned to do these by hand by finding the slope, which is the difference in y's over the difference in x's. And then we used point slope form. to work and get it into slope-intercept form. But you can also do this question by using the line of regression, if you remember how to do that. Which would you like me to do first? Well, the by hand version would say x, y, x, y. So you take one of the y's minus the other one, and then one of the x's minus the other one. And I get -1 over -4, or 1/4 for the slope. And then I want to put one of the points in. I think I'll pick 8, 10. So if I have 8, 10 as my x1 and y1, and this is my slope, when I put them into point slope form, yeah, over on the table, y minus y sub 1, which is 10, equals 1/4 x minus x sub 1, which is 8. Did you find one? Okay, because otherwise I can look. Then we want to get f of x means what again, guys? Y. So we want to get the y by itself. So if we distribute, we'll have 1/4 x. Guys, what's a fourth of 8? 2. So that'll be -2. And then if we add 10 over there, we'll get 8. So we'll have y equals 1/4 x plus 8. Can I refresh your memory how to do it on the calculator? Everybody grab your calculator. Anybody remember how to get to where we enter the list? It is the stat button and then enter. And then when we have it in, we're going to go stat, right arrow over to line of regression. And you don't have to do any crazy save or anything like that today if you just want to find the equation of a line. So it's stat, enter, and then we want to put in just those two ordered pairs. So you go up onto the title, hit clear, enter, or clear and down arrow to get those all out of there. Can anybody tell me the ordered pairs? I already forgot. Eight, 10, and 4, 9. Okay. So 8 was an x value, and then 4 was the other x value. Is that right, guys? And the corresponding y's were 10 and 9. Okay. Once you have those in, what did I say? Anybody remember? Back to stat. Over to calculate. Line of regression, which is choice 4 or 8 if you're in stats. They use the other version, but long as this says list 1 and list 2 and nothing else is filled in, you can just go down to calculate. We don't need to store it or anything. It better come out nice. Okay. It did. 0.25 is A, which is the slope, and 8 is the intercept. And I would take that if you had written y equals 0.25x plus 8, because 1/4 is the same thing. Okay? Cheating with technology. Everybody good? One way or the other. Okay. Number 2. This does not factor. The only factors of 11 are 11 and 1. What is our other alternative that we have not used in a while? Yes, you have to use the quadratic formula. X equals the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And if it happens to be negative, the b needs it to be in parentheses. Sorry, I didn't write that very well. You can't do these by graphing because you will get decimal approximates, okay? So for our example, we have A is 1, B is -6, and C is -11. So we will have the opposite. Whoops, what did I write here? That's supposed to be a 6, right? Okay, opposite of -6 will be 6 plus or minus the square root of -6 squared minus 4 times A, which is 1 times -11, all over 2 times 1, which will be 6 plus or minus. Now you need to type this exactly as it's written, not in the radical though. So we have -6 quantity squared. Whoa, 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 whoa. Did I do that? Minus 4 times 1 times -11. Am I remembering it right, guys? Okay, and you should get 80, yes? Everybody get 80? Okay. So we have -6 plus or minus the square root of 80 over 2. Now, the most likely mistake students make is they like reduce something they can't reduce. Like you can't just do this 6 and this 2 because this is also over 2. I'm going to leave it for a minute and break the 80 into, that's a tricky one. It's actually 16 and 5. If you did 4 and 20, it would go again, right? Because 4 also goes into 20, so you'd end up with 2 times 5, square root of 5, which is the same as we're going to get over here, 4 square roots of 5. Okay, so I have 6 plus or minus, the square root of 16 was 4, square roots of 5. Now, remember, it's really like this is over 2 and this is over 2. So what is that going to reduce to? 6 over 2 would be 3. And here 4 over 2 would be 2 square roots of 5. Any questions? Some of these things are on another review packet a second time. Who are you looking for? Who are you looking for? I believe Miss Hinks' class would be in here 7th period, which is Miss Weiss right now. Yeah, absolutely. I'll make sure she sees it. Yeah, well, some of us do anyway. Thank you. Nope, I will make sure that she gets it. Yes. Because this was multiplied, so we can reduce this. Like if we have 2x over 2, we just reduce this and just get x. It's not still x over 2. Does that help understand why? Okay. All right. Number 3 is a calculator question, so we need to grab our graphing calculator and type this in to y1. We're going to put in -16x squared plus 80x plus 22. And x, it's time. So we're going to have to choose an appropriate window. And y, it says, is height. So we want to choose an appropriate window for that. All right, -16, 80, and 22. I don't want to do it in black because I want to be able to see it in color. What was it plus, guys? I already forgot. Thank you. Do I have it right now? Okay. Window is critical on these. The final exam, you get a point for finding an appropriate window, but it says specifically appropriate to the situation. Okay? Not just that you can see the parabola, but that it represents the situation. So can time be negative? No, so we need to put 0. We might be able to leave 10. I don't know. We'll see. Might have to change it. This is how high it goes. It started at 22 and it's going up, so I'm thinking it's probably pretty high. I don't know. I'm going to try like 200. Whoops, that should be the max, not the min. It's probably nowhere near enough. Okay, so if I look at my graph, oh, it's not too bad. I could have had less on both. Okay, so what I do on my answer key is I figure out like where here to here is and say it has to be at least that much. Does that make sense? Yours can be bigger. All right, so I'm going to go with that's fine. I'm going to draw a little sketch here. I did 0 to 20 and 0 to 200. No, 0 to 10 and 0 to 200. Is that what I did? I don't know. It doesn't have to be exact. What you have to have is you can't have a bunch of negative here, okay? Okay. What time did the ball hit the ground to the nearest tenth of a second? What is that called? On our calculator, because you can't just scroll close. Yes, it is called the 0. So we're going to go second trace and find a 0. Now, I'm not a big fan of scrolling around. If you scroll over here, it's somewhere between 5 and 6 seconds. I like to just type. I would type 5, enter for the left bound, and 6, enter for the right bound, so that it's in between those. And then when I hit enter for the guess. Now, is this y? Do you remember this business? That's calculator error, right? 1 times 10 to the negative 11th. So what are we going to round this to for how many seconds? 5.3? Did you know you could get that answer by doing quadratic formula? Does that sound fun with those numbers? Not so much. But you could set this equal to 0 and do quadratic formula and get that answer. All right. During what time interval is the ball more than 100 feet above the ground? What's going on here? Yes, we're going to go to Y2 and put in a line at 100 and then find those 2 intersection points. All right, so we're going to go back here to Y2. We're going to put a line in at 100, and it doesn't matter which spot you put it in. And I need to find the point of intersection here and the point of intersection here, and I only want the X values because the Y value should be 100. So I go second trace, intersect. I'm just going to hit enter, enter, enter and find the first one. I found the right one first. I don't know what you did first, but that would round to 3.7. And then I'm going to go second trace, intersect. But this time I'm going to scroll over where I want it to find this one. And I'm going to hit enter, enter, enter. And it says intersection 1.3. So between 1.3 and, I already forgot, what was it, 3.7? In between those, now it says interval notation. I'm just gonna, I don't know. If you use square brackets, I won't count it wrong, okay? Any kind. It says above 100 feet. As long as you put in and get those tenths, I'm good. I'm not gonna worry about it. Anybody have a question? Not getting it to work? I'm really worried about this question. Does anybody remember what average rate of change even means? It means slope, okay? From when it was 3 seconds until it was 5 seconds. Where could we get that easily? Yeah, we could trace, but we could also go to the table. If you go to the table, now I remember I have mine in weird. I put the line at 100 at Y1, but at 3 I have 118. Anybody have that? And 5 is 22. Is that the ones we're supposed to do? 3 and 5? 118 and 22. What does that mean it's doing? It's actually falling right there, right? From a height of 118 to a height of 22. So I think we're going to get a negative slope. These are x's, these are y's, and slope, remember, is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we'd have 22 minus 118 over 5 minus 3. If you did it in another order, it'll come out the same, as long as you do the top and the bottom in the same order. I'm getting, I think, negative 94 over 2 or negative 47. Is anybody checking my math? This is 96. Yes? Okay. Thank you. Let me erase and fix that blob, which makes it 96 divided by 2, 48. Okay. And anybody know what we would label that? It's the average rate of change for the speed. If you go way back to the top, didn't it say feet per second up here? Okay. I think today in the back was review number 2. Is that right? The yellow one was back there. I do have a review packet number 3, and I put another example of this on there because I was worried about this one, okay? Number 4, I don't know how far we're going to get. How much time we got left? How? Okay. Do you want me to stop? One more? Use this expression to find the exact value of f of 0. What does f of 0 mean? Put in x equals 0, yes? So you could do it by hand. You could do negative 2, 0 plus 5, 0 minus 3 cubed, and then figure out what that is. Or we're going to have to graph this down here anyway. So we could go to the calculator, clear some garbage out. And can someone read it to me? Did it have a negative 2 out front? Then an x plus 5. And then what was the one that was cubed? X minus 3 to the 3rd power. Okay, this time I'm just going to start with a zoom 6 or standard window. It needs to go higher. I think it's really high. Did anybody get it to work yet? I'm going to try like 500. I don't know why I remember it was really high. That's not even enough. I'm going to try like negative 100 to 1,000. Okay, there's the disgusting graph. It says we were finding f of 0, so you would just do trace 0 or look at the table, and that one came out 270. If we had done that one on the home screen, it might have told us how our window was going to be really big. It says find a maximum. Do you remember how to do that? Second trace max. And there's just one maximum over here somewhere. So we're going to go enter, tell we're to the right of it, enter. I got negative 3, 864, and it did say as an ordered pair. And then it wants to know where it's increasing. Do you remember how that goes? Left to right. And you use x values. So the only place this is increasing is here. From the left to negative 3. From the left to negative 3. So you write negative infinity to negative 3. Okay? All right, so we got through 4 questions, not very far, but we'll do some more tomorrow after we review for the quiz.